Legal documents reveal a bitter reality between the slain Reuben Chavez and prime suspect Princess Perez. The former lovers were locked in a vicious custody war. Prosecutors allege Perez witnessed the execution before vanishing alongside her current partner. She allegedly smuggled him into Mexico. Their flight concluded when authorities apprehended the fugitive couple attempting to cross back through the San Ysidro port of entry. According to the prosecution, her deliberate presence and subsequent escape cemented her status as an accessory to murder. Grieving relatives packed the gallery today, their faces reflecting a profound shock that words cannot yet articulate. San Diego authorities initially discovered 3 infants, all under 2 years old, sitting silently in a parked van, oblivious to the horror outside. Barely 20 feet from that vehicle rested the lifeless body of their mother, Evelyn Verjen, bleeding out onto the cold asphalt. Beside her lay Reuben Chavez, a desperate father battling for visitation rights. A devastating shotgun blast claimed both their lives around 12:30 on the morning of January 19th. The perpetrators immediately bolted south of the border. Make no mistake, this bitter domestic dispute bypassed the courtroom and concluded in unimaginable bloodshed. Darkness reveals the most sinister secrets. Welcome to 12 a.m. Crime. Here, the darkest domestic disputes morph into fatal tragedies daily. These are the chilling narratives authorities attempt to sweep under the rug. The silenced victims demand retribution. For those seeking unvarnished realities, join the investigation. Fresh cases are exposed nightly at the stroke of 12. Vengeance never rests. This is timeless true crime. The late Reuben Chavez was merely 31 years old. He shared several children with his 25-year-old former partner, Princess Perez. As is typical in fractured romances, the separation bred a highly toxic aftermath. Reuben desperately craved an active paternal role. His ultimate goal was shared guardianship. He played by the rules, submitting petitions and attending every hearing. Yet the judicial system dealt him a devastating blow. Official dockets relegated Reuben strictly to monitored visitations. Every precious interaction with his own flesh and blood required a third-party chaperone scrutinizing his moves. He was stripped of all privacy, denied those authentic paternal bonding experiences, and forbidden from simple solo outings. Meanwhile, Princess had seamlessly transitioned into a new romance with 21-year-old Ramses Morales. Known on the streets as Rex, he had already fathered another infant with Princess. This created a volatile dynamic. Reuben found himself completely marginalized, peering through the glass, hyper-focused on legal mandates, while his former lover constructed a fresh existence elsewhere. Enter Evelyn Verjen, Reuben's new 28-year-old companion. Evelyn was managing a chaotic household herself, nurturing 3 babies all under 24 months old. This devoted caretaker simply wanted to provide for her toddlers, tragically stumbling directly into the crossfire of the escalating war between Reuben and his ex. A staggering 9 innocent souls are entangled in this grim narrative. 9 minors spread across fractured homes, standing on the precipice of lifelong trauma. The battle between Reuben and Princess transcended mere bureaucratic motions. It was a relentless, festering feud. Official transcripts highlight a vicious tug-of-war over their shared offspring. Reuben relentlessly lobbied for expanded privileges and shared control, only to repeatedly crash into a brick wall of court-mandated restrictions. Consider the profound psychological toll. A devoted father yearning to provide support, only to be branded a liability by the state. Adding insult to injury, his replacement is actively molding his children in a sanctuary where he remains unwelcome. That kind of profound alienation acts as a ticking time bomb. Yet a crucial mystery remains. The private exchanges among this fatal quartet prior to the January 19th massacre are completely obscured. Detectives cannot definitively confirm if vicious ultimatums were issued or if physical altercations preceded the carnage. Authorities have cemented one absolute fact. This double execution was the direct manifestation of an incredibly toxic guardianship feud. The hostility between Reuben and Princess radiated outward, eventually dragging her new flame, Ramses Morales, straight into the abyss. By mid-January 2026, the pressure cooker exploded. Investigators remain unsure if this was a calculated ambush or a spontaneous collision. Regardless of intent, the subsequent bloodbath left 2 adults slaughtered and orphaned 9 fragile lives. The timeline zeroes in on January 19, 2026, shortly after 12:30 in the morning. While the city of San Diego slumbered, A frantic, unidentified voice dialed dispatch from the desolate intersection of 27th Street and Imperial Avenue. The caller described a pair of motionless bodies on the pavement. No identities were provided, no backstory offered, just two casualties bleeding out in the dark. The line abruptly went dead. Patrol units rolled out, anticipating a standard hit and run, or perhaps a late-night mugging. Arriving units instantly realized the sheer gravity of the crime scene. Reuben Chavez was sprawled across the asphalt, riddled with ballistics, with Evelyn Verjen lying parallel. She suffered identical catastrophic trauma. Life-saving measures were utterly futile. First responders keyed their radios, upgrading the status to a confirmed dual execution. Spent munitions littered the bleak roadway. The weapon of choice was a shotgun, entirely ruling out a long-range pistol strike. This was no distant sniper. A shotgun implies terrifying proximity. It is an intensely intimate method of execution, designed specifically to guarantee the targets never take another breath. Yet, investigators soon spotted a detail that plunged the crime scene into darker territory. A nearby vehicle held 3 infants, all under 2 years old. They were Evelyn's offspring. Among them sat the toddler Reuben shared with Princess. 3 helpless witnesses present during their mother's execution, sitting merely feet away as gunfire eradicated Reuben. Though entirely unscathed physically, the infants remained strapped inside the vehicle while their mother grew cold on the asphalt 20 feet away. Authorities swiftly took the minors into protective care. Guardianship had to be established immediately, as their biological caregiver had been violently erased. Investigators arrived, meticulously processing the grim aftermath. Forensic experts gathered spent brass and captured imagery, reconstructing that fatal timeline. Who lured Reuben and Evelyn outside at 12:30 in the morning? What possessed the victims to bring infants along? Furthermore, what predator discharges a weapon beside a toddler-filled vehicle? The chilling truth materialized rapidly. Background checks exposed Reuben's bitter custody warfare against Princess Perez, documented by months of vicious legal battles regarding visitation. Princess was currently seeing Ramses Morales, providing the crucial psychological link detectives needed to connect the dots. Digital footprints placed Princess and Ramsey at the murder site, yet they had vanished into the shadows. San Diego investigators moved with lethal efficiency, locking their sights squarely on Princess Perez and Ramses Morales. Both suspects held dark ties to the deceased and the custody war. Both had utterly disappeared from the radar. Law enforcement verified the duo abandoned the bloodbath before sirens ever echoed. No explanations were offered, and no 911 calls originated from them. They bolted, bypassing local hideouts entirely for a larger escape. They fled into Mexico. Analyze the psychology of that move. Standing amidst a fresh double homicide, possessing vital clues for authorities, yet actively choosing evasion over cooperation. Escaping across international lines broadcasts a glaring message to detectives: undeniable consciousness of guilt. Innocent bystanders rarely abandon their homeland. Yet, this is exactly where the fugitives committed a fatal miscalculation. Following their initial escape southward, putting miles between them and the carnage, the pair inexplicably pivoted back toward American soil. Perhaps they believed the heat had dissipated, or maternal instincts drew Princess back toward her offspring, or perhaps they underestimated the ongoing manhunt, assuming the trail went cold. Regardless, federal agents patiently awaited their arrival at the San Ysidro border crossing. Customs officials immediately shackled the couple the moment they attempted re-entry. During the initial intake procedures at the boundary line, San Diego's homicide unit intercepted them on site, relentlessly extracting sworn statements and meticulously constructing a damning narrative right at the customs checkpoint. The forensic puzzle pieces locked together. Recovered brass perfectly matched the utilized shotgun. Eyewitness testimony anchored the couple to the kill zone, while the familial warfare established clear motivation. Escaping southward signaled dark complicity, and whatever the suspects confessed during those tense border interrogations provided sufficient legal grounds for detectives to finalize the arrests. Princess Perez and Ramses Morales found themselves formally booked and heavily indicted. Ramsey absorbed a pair of homicide charges, heavily amplified by special circumstance enhancements. In California, that specific legal classification opens the door to lethal injection. Lying in wait to ambush multiple targets carried severe aggravating elements, prompting the state to pursue ultimate punishment. Furthermore, he secured 3 child endangerment counts regarding the helpless infants trapped within the vehicle. Jeopardizing minors during a lethal strike constitutes an independent felony under the law, effectively burying Ramsey under a massive 5-count indictment. Authorities took an alternate angle with Princess, slapping her with accessory to homicide. The state alleged she witnessed the carnage firsthand, participated, and facilitated her partner's getaway. Aiding a killer's escape guarantees criminal liability. Transporting him across international borders and running together solidified her legal status as an active accomplice. However, the prosecution delivered an ominous court warning. The investigation surrounding the mother remained highly active. Her indictment might evolve beyond mere accessory. If forensics prove she orchestrated or executed the bloodbath, those initial charges will rapidly escalate. Thus, Princess languished behind bars, painfully aware the legal noose could tighten further. As for the 3 toddlers abandoned in the crossfire, they transitioned into secure familial care. Evelyn's inner circle diligently orchestrated, placing her surviving orphans with capable relatives. Reuben and Princess's shared toddler also found safe refuge within their extended family network. A staggering 9 youths now find themselves drifting through the foster system, caught in the devastating wake of a fatal, adult-made catastrophe. The accused Ramses Morales and Princess Perez remain locked away without bail, their identities obscured in court footage by strict judicial mandate. State prosecutors remain tight-lipped regarding the underlying catalyst, merely labeling the investigation a deeply tangled web. 9 young souls tether the deceased to the accused. Authorities claim Morales executed Reuben Chavez and Evelyn Verjen with a shotgun, leaving 3 infants, including one of his own, abandoned inside a parked vehicle. Every infant was under 2 years old. Delving into legal archives revealed a bitter, ongoing struggle as Chavez desperately sought guardianship of his offspring from his former partner, Perez. His pleas for shared parenting rights resulted merely in heavily monitored visitations. Morales currently faces dual homicide charges carrying special circumstances, alongside 3 severe allegations of putting minors in peril. Perez holds an accessory status, though authorities emphasize she remains under intense scrutiny. The prosecutor condemned the bloodbath as a completely irrational act of firepower. The grim reality is that profound urban brutality has irreversibly shattered these families. Officials publicly expressed deep sorrow for the relatives, vowing to relentlessly pursue righteous retribution for the slain. A preliminary hearing is slated for February 4th. Investigators also noted the 2 suspects share biological offspring. Relatives have absorbed the orphaned youth. Should a jury convict Perez, a 3-year sentence awaits. Yet the state continues actively probing the depths of her complicity. Conversely, a guilty verdict for Morales could ultimately trigger capital punishment. On January 22nd, 72 hours following the massacre, Princess Perez and Ramses Morales stepped into a courtroom. A suffocating atmosphere gripped the gallery, overflowing with grieving loved ones desperate for answers. Factions representing Reuben and Evelyn crowded the benches, unified by a dark hunger to lock eyes with the alleged butchers. The presiding magistrate demanded their features remain pixelated for broadcast purposes. Princess and Ram sat stoically as the prosecutor unspooled the grim narrative, demanding dual homicide convictions for Ramses. Accusations included 3 endangerment violations and aggravated slaughter, a classification that paves a direct path to California's lethal injection. The state withheld the complete psychological trigger during proceedings, hiding behind the veil of a complex investigation. Yet, an unspoken truth resonated heavily among the gathered spectators. Toxic resentment over guardianship spilled from legal chambers onto the asphalt, ending in shotgun fire. Princess watched, currently facing a mere 3-year accessory stint. However, prosecutors deliberately left the door open, signaling that detectives are relentlessly digging into her true involvement. If hidden forensic truths surface, those minor allegations could rapidly escalate into devastating felony indictments. The official hypothesis remains chillingly direct. Ramses blasted Reuben Chavez and Evelyn Verjen, while 3 toddlers waited feet away. Princess witnessed the slaughter, subsequently facilitating his getaway. The pair absconded across the Mexican border, only to be apprehended upon return. State attorneys condemned the catastrophic sequence as illogical, weaponized rage, emphasizing how raw gangland-style brutality permanently scarred these innocent youths. Authorities promised fierce legal retribution. However, a courtroom victory can never breathe life back into Reuben or Evelyn. No verdict can magically repair 9 shattered childhoods. 9 innocent lives, the true, agonizing core of this narrative. A group of oblivious youngsters greeted the morning with their caretakers, only to be swallowed by an orphan nightmare. 3 toddlers, completely deprived of fundamental memories, will forever lack the gentle echo of their mother's comforting embrace. They will forever remain strangers to the loving affirmations Evelyn Verjen once whispered into their ears. Reuben battled fiercely against a rigid judicial machine, enduring attorneys and heavy surveillance just to secure brief paternal moments. Those hard-won weekend reunions are permanently extinguished. Furthermore, Princess and Rams also share biological ties to a minor. That specific child faces a grim maturation, haunted by a father's potential execution and a mother's dark complicity. Relatives are desperately attempting to absorb the collateral damage, forging a fragile sanctuary amidst the suffocating psychological debris. Loyal companions tirelessly intervene to secure safe havens for Evelyn's infants. Yet, collective familial devotion cannot possibly fill the void carved by a double homicide. Bitter guardianship disputes plague domestic tribunals nationwide on a daily basis. Former lovers routinely clash over financial support and holiday schedules. Usually, such venom remains safely contained within legal boundaries. These arguments routinely turn vicious, financially ruinous, and psychologically paralyzing. However, they rarely culminate in sidewalk corpses and traumatized toddlers staring blindly at a lifeless mother. Meanwhile, the judicial cogs continue grinding. Ramses Morales waits in the cold shadow of lethal injection. Princess Perez nervously waits, wondering if investigators will escalate her criminal indictments. Relatives are left arranging burials, burdened with the impossible task of telling the young ones why their mother and father will never return. The 9 youths face a shattered reality, collateral damage in a lethal dispute where the grown-ups utterly failed to act their age. Searching for logic in this tragedy yields nothing but shadows. Reason simply vanishes when 2 lives are violently extinguished. 9 scarred youths remain, the devastating fallout of a guardianship battle spiraling into absolute madness. Gratitude to the viewers who followed this dark investigation. This is Timeless True Crime, an investigative series unearthing the sinister incidents society prefers to leave buried. Exploring fatal romances, household terror, and the shattered survivors wandering through the wreckage. Audiences moved by this chilling narrative are encouraged to subscribe. Share perspectives on this grim tragedy in the discussion section below. Viewers are also urged to distribute this harrowing broadcast to those seeking the truth. Remain vigilant in the darkness. The inquiry resumes in the upcoming installment. Behind the cold yellow tape of every true crime scene lies a haunting question. How did love turn into a weapon? The tragedy of Reuben Chavez and Evelyn Verjen is a heart-wrenching reminder that when domestic disputes bypass reason and surrender to weaponized rage, the ultimate price is paid by the innocent. 9 children, 9 fragile souls now drift through a fractured reality, haunted by the echo of a shotgun blast that silenced their parents' futures. This isn't just a story of crime, it is a plea for sanity. We often claim to be fighting for our children, yet we must ask ourselves, are we building them a sanctuary, or are we dragging them into a crossfire of our own making? Winning a feud is meaningless when it costs a life. True strength isn't found in the heat of an ultimatum, but in the courage to heal for the sake of those who look up to us. Let this be our wake-up call. We must choose empathy over ego and de-escalation over destruction. Because when the smoke clears, no courtroom victory can ever repair a shattered childhood. Love is meant to be a shield, not a ticking time bomb. Let us protect the living before they become another chilling narrative.